Well, would you look at that? It's a battle of punch and kick merchants. What's up, guys? I'm Hanso. You're here to do a breakdown / live reaction and analysis and review of Lumiere's Can Hakari. Well, not Hakari, but Can Hakari beat Final Yuji. This is interesting. This is honestly, dare I say, one of the more contentious matchups currently now that the manga is over. Like, we're still reviewing some stuff, like Kenny versus Yuta is still a hot debate. I'd say, really, Gojo versus Sukuna, despite being over for, like, literally, it's just over a year still. It's just over a year still. But being over for a year at this point, that's still a really hot debate. Obviously, you have Maki and Toji versus basically any top tier at all. Like, that's always a debate. But Hakari and Yuji, two of the heavy hitters portrayed on the same cover. One who got so much screen time, someone who got so little screen time. Obviously, this one's chaotic. It's hype. It's exciting. So let's see what Lumiere has to say. Let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into it. Editing me. Are you ready? Three. Excuse me. Two. And let's just say maybe one. Go.
Yuji.
What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact. I do no. Have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact. I like to yap quite extensively, so I can tell you, as a fact, right here, right now, that this video is, in fact, 10 minutes and 41 seconds long. I can also tell you, as a matter of fact, that I will be here for longer than that. Much longer. Much longer. So, if you want to check out the original video, it'll be linked in the description down below, along with the link to Lumiere's channel. He is another fantastic JJK content creator. I'm not sure, I literally just looked at his channel. I didn't see anything but JJK stuff, but great, fantastic JJK content creator. He has good editing. He has good topics to cover. He has another video I want to react to. He's building the strongest sorcerer. I've seen Broken Ronin do a couple streams on that. But I think they're like streams, not videos. He has a 15-minute video on that. I'm interested to see. I may will want to react to that too. Who knows? But the link will be in the description, in the comment section. Not in the comment section, but in the description down below, along with the link to his channel. Please go check him out. W content creator. But for my thoughts on Yuji versus Hakari. If we use headcanon Yuji, and then don't headcanon for Hakari, Yuji wins. Pretty blatantly. I'd say pretty blatantly. Because headcanon Yuji has soul damage. And if we don't headcanon for Hakari, because it's so weird, I'll admit. This is a matchup, headcanon or not. It's just weird. Because do you think that Hakari will get jackpot? If so, the battle takes forever. And if you think Hakari will get jackpot, do you think that he can automatically heal soul damage? That his body is just built like that, and he can literally just heal soul damage? If you think he can, Yuji can literally never beat him. Never. Never. And you may be like, but what about cleave? But what about blood manipulation? Hakari wins by war of attrition. I'm not saying he can sit here and do any damage to Yuji. I personally think not. I am fully in the camp that Akari Kenji, unless you do some weird, real roundabout kind of scaling, I am 100% in the camp that Akari Kenji is a pillow puncher. But unfortunately, against Yuji Tadori, someone who has no way to stop the pillow punching, he literally loses the stamina war. They would fight all day. Like if the fight started at dawn, it would go till dusk. And it would literally just be Yuji getting tired. And Hakari just consistently dancing on him. Because here's the thing, right? Yuji definitely dominates base Hakari. Don't get me wrong. But then again, base Hakari has that weird feat against Arame, right? Where they were able to hold off Harame in their own domain for however long you think the Kashimo versus Sukuna fight lasted. If you think it was 2 seconds, then they last for 2 seconds. If you think it was a minute, they last for a minute. If you think it was 10 minutes, they last for 10 minutes. But regardless, that did happen. And Arame's no joke. Like, no joke at all. And Akari Kenji in base took no damage in his own domain. And he's putting Yuji in his domain round start. And I don't think Yuji's going to counter domain back, at least not immediately. And if he does, it doesn't matter. Hakari's getting jackpot. And then it's jackpot versus Yuji. And I don't see Yuji with a win con. You would have to go with the argument that Yuji, since he knows how to damage the boundary between two souls, he knows how to damage the soul. Is there evidence for that? No. But that's your only hope. And then you have to if you're going to headcanon for Yuji, you have to then not headcanon for Hakari. And say, Well, yeah, Yuji can damage the boundary between souls because logical leap. But Hakari Kenji, even though he has the most advanced, fastest, and most top tier RCT literally in the entire series, he can't heal a soul cause I guess because no logical leap. I don't know. There you go. That's it. That's the only way. But if you think Yuji's soul damage to Mahito is separate from the soul damage that Maki and Toji do with SSK, and by proxy, since Yuji has never shown it, he cannot do it, then he can literally never beat Jackpot Hakari. Never. Never, ever, ever. Because Yuji doesn't have anything in his kit that could just one-shot Hakari. Maybe cleave to base Hakari. Maybe. That's about it. That's the only win con I could see. Yuji gets his hands on Hakari while Akari's in domain trying to get Jackpot, and then he cleaves Hakari's head. He would have to specifically go for the head and remove his neck. That's it. That's the only way. But let me stop yapping. Let's see what Lumiere has to say.
Itadori, the man chosen by the Black Sparks, versus Kenji Hakari, the man who can harness luck. A topic that with Yuji's newfound strength has been underrated and shrugged off too easily. Has Yuji surpassed his upperclassmen? Well, let's dive into it and see who wins if Yuji and Hakari fought. At this point, everyone has exhausted Hakari's abilities and strength on YouTube, so first I'll be going over Yuji's newfound strength and abilities. First, we'll talk about his abilities. Yuji has two curse techniques. One of them is blood manipulation, which he got from an integration of the death paintings, and the other is malevolent shrine, which is obviously Sukuna's technique, which was engraved onto him. But these are still techniques he hasn't refined yet. For example, with blood manipulation, Yuji can't use convergence very well, and you need convergence to use things such as piercing blood and supernova. The reason he was able to use piercing blood against Sukuna was because Choso had actually given Yuji a pressurized blood orb. Then when Yuji awakens in chapter 257, he unlocks Malevolent Shrine. But as we see it, it's different than Sukuna's, because when Yuji cuts something, there's a scissor symbol beforehand, and this could be explained many ways. Like, it could just be how Yuji envisions himself using the technique. It could be how Sukuna noted that the techniques manifest differently dependent on the era and sorcerer, or it could just be Yuji's lack of refinement. Despite this, Yuji can drive this mantle into souls. Specifically in chapter 263, it was the boundary between Sukuna's and Megami's soul, which is consistent with Yuji since he understands the contours of the soul, so he can attack the soul as necessary, and it's even more effective than Yuji's normal blows. Sukuna even admitted that if Yuji kept hitting him with it, he'd lose. On top of that, Yuji also learned how to use reverse curse technique with.
Okay, I've been letting him go. I've been trying to say solid on the. So yeah, that's the big thing about Final Yuji. The big thing about Final Yuji, and it's why, despite being a Yuji yucker, like I've been glazing Yuji since Yuji could be glazed, I'm always hesitant to expect never top 3, never top. And whenever I hear people say Yuji top 3 or Yuji top 2 or Yuji top 1, I'm like, be so for real. But even I'm still hesitant to throw in top 5. I'm still so hesitant because we just don't know. If we go with full potential Yuji, a Yuji that's master shrine, has a better refinement over his domain expansion, figured out blood manipulation, bada bing, then we can talk. Then we can grab a door and yank it open. But until that point, how good are these curse techniques really? They're good, but are they really that good? Since we know techniques can manifest differently, is his cleave actually even Duraneg? Because we saw it, and of course it's Sukuna, right? And it's hard to it's basically impossible to compare Sukuna at his curse energy amounts to Hakari at his curse energy amounts and their reinforcement. It's basically impossible to do that. But how effective is his Duraneg really? When he used cleave on Sukuna, the only time we see him use cleave on a person, very specifically cleave, and not his weird internal soul dismantles, it very specifically leaves slices around Sukuna's limb. That's about it. That's all it does. And that's a Yuji tweaking on multiple black flashes. That Yuji, for all intents and purposes, is at full output. He may be at low cursed energy amount, but for all intents and purposes, that boy is at full output. No doubt about it. So, it's not above full output, really, at that point. But it barely does anything. So, how am I supposed to scale it to other characters? Does that mean, presumably, Yuta would take no damage from that, right? Look, am I crazy? Yuta would take basically no damage, because Sukuna was at about Yuta levels of cursed energy. So if you think cursed energy amount is what leads into your level of reinforcement, but we know it's not technically linear, Because we know that Yuta, despite having balanced amounts of cursed energy, Rika, despite having balanced amounts of cursed energy, Hakari, despite having infinite amounts of cursed energy, none of them have infinite AP. We aren't going to sit here and say that Yuta or Rika or Hakari and Jackpot are universal. But at the same time, can I really say that Yuta's cleaves are as effective as Sukuna's? No. As Sukuna himself notes, Yuji's technique is inferior to his drastically because he freshly awakened it. But we don't know if once he's fully awakened and got some understanding of it, would it be Sukuna level? Is Yuji able to one-shot Ryu? I doubt it. I really do. Because we don't even know if his cleave works the same as Sukuna's cleave. Just like his dismantle doesn't seem to work the same as Sukuna's dismantle. We never see him throw a single ranged dismantle. The only dismantle we ever see him use are the soul-branded ones, where he still needs to get in contact with Sukuna. So saying his cleave is as effective as Sukuna's cleave is basically a non-sequitur. It's basically impossible today. So Shrine is basically useless on that front. And then it looks like we're going with Hyuji. Heiken and Yuji, where he can just do soul damage because he can target the boundary. Hey, do what y'all will. I'll let it slide. But if we Heiken in it, I think Hakari can heal soul damage. We know it's a possibility of RCT. We know it's something that someone like Sukuna can do. And essentially, from what we know of Hakari, when he's in Jackpot, everything every other RCT user can do, Hakari can do. He can heal poisons. He can heal brain damage as it's happening to him. He can heal whole limbs in a blink of an eye. I think he can heal soul damage. I think he can do it. In Jackpot, I think he can. So even if we're going to give Yuji soul dismantles and stuff like that and assume he can directly target Hakari's soul, I think Hakari's soul is just going to be like, ooh, weird, and pop back up, as long as he's in Jackpot. Base Hakari, funky. But if he gets Jackpot that first time, Yuji has to kill him. He has to kill him immediately, or he has to remove an arm immediately. He has to soul cleave an arm off instantly to beat Hakari. Because the moment Hakari is in Jackpot, Yuji's not winning. He's not winning because he has no way to put him down. The cleaves are not going to be enough. The dismantles are not going to be enough. Especially the soul dismantle, not going to be enough. It don't matter how much Durineg in the world is going to immediately regenerate. Because Yuji's output is just not all that. And Yuji's blood manipulation is only a factor for his healing. Which is why I say the balancing will last forever. I think Hakari's AP, I'm not going to say it's booty. But it ain't exactly good. I'm talking fast. But like, it ain't booty, but it ain't exactly good, if you know what I'm talking about. So like, he's not going to beat Yuji down to death or nothing like that. I don't think so. He can throw Yuji through buildings. I think Yuji will be fine. But the issue is, Yuji has no way to put Hakari down either. And if I'm going with the two punch and kick merchants, because that's essentially what Yuji and Hakari are. They are the heavy-hitting punch and kick merchants. Then I'm going to give it to the punch and kick merchant who will literally cannot run out of stamina. Who will always have infinite cursed energy, and who will always be immortal. Even if he's limited for those couple seconds he's not in Jackpot, he's domaining again. And Yuji's not going to beat that domain because it's good in clashes. So, bada bing, bada boom. Yuji's techniques, they don't really matter. At the end of the day, he's still a close range punch and kick merchant who can cut you a little bit and throw rocks at you. Cool story, bro. Good luck beating an immortal. But of course, we hop back into the video itself.
In the month before his battle with Sukuna, he's efficient enough to where he's able to heal from Sukuna's cleave and dismantle. Yuji also learned new shadow style simple domain. He learned this by switching souls with Kusakabe. Other important abilities that Yuji has is Divergent Fist, which helped him a lot defeating Mahito, but as you guys know, it just creates a second impact after he punches. It used to be an accidental thing because of his inexperience, but now after he's improved his cursed energy manipulation, he can use it at will. It's important to note when evaluating Yuji's skill is that he has an unnatural ability of hidden black flashes. He's the only person in the series that Gege just glazes in his ability to hit it, having multiple statements describing this ability to do so. Matching Sukuna and Black Flash's hit, making it seem like he can use Black Flash at will, being chosen by the Black Sparks. That is how significant Yuji's ability to hit Black Flash is. A weird component too is Yuji's blow.
Now, this is another thing, right? Black Flashes, they don't matter. So I don't know. I feel, at least in this fight, once again, it doesn't really matter. Because Black Flashes, they are not the multiplier they're said to be. Characters will literally be atomized, bro. Like, if you actually, even if, let's just say, every single JJK character does 2 damage. 2 damage. Once again, the bare minimum, well, admittedly, like, the bare minimum will be like 1.9. But, like, the bare minimum, let's say every JJK character has 2 damage. 2 times 2 times 1 is still 4. If a hit does double the amount of damage it did before, going with the lowest interpretation of it, then bada bing, bada boom. That'd still be a massive chunk of damage. You'd be blowing off limbs. If characters are struggling and staggering from you getting hit regularly, and then Black Flash hits them, and all they do is they go, that hurt a little bit more, or sometimes get knocked away, that's it. That's not a 2.5 times multiplier. And we know characters are doing more than just 2.1 times their damage. Characters do more than 2 points of damage. So I don't think a Black Flash, if it at its strongest was never even able to like break Sukuna's skin, wasn't even able to break any of his arms against Jackpot Hakari, it may ragdoll him a little bit, but he'll be fine. No matter. Let's see.
Also shake the soul, at least when he targets the boundary of the soul. Sukuna says each time he gets hit by Yuji, his curse energy output drops and his physical control decreases. Now this is because Sukuna and Megami are together, so this might only happen because of that, or it's just the result of when Yuji targets your soul with his blows. Yuji
it's not. It is literally just because Sukuna's the incarnate sorcerer. I disagree with a lot of what Arame says, but like that's one of the cases where they are correct. Yuji would legit, if this was true body Sukuna, and not just true form Sukuna, no, true body Sukuna, Yuji would literally be worthless. All of his attacks are boundary based. They're based in that spectrum, that fine line between the soul and the body. And it's Sukuna's soul that had a hold over Megami. So that's all Yuji targeted. It's why ultimately I call Yuji having SSK style or direct soul damage just straight headcanon, because it never happens. It never does. You can look through the entire manga, bro, and you may be like, Mahito though. But remember, Mahito is the exception. That's what we're talking about later. But essentially, anyone who has two souls inside them can damage Mahito. It is not a special, rare thing. Choso can damage Mahito. It seems funky, but they never fight. So Mahito never has to know it. Every incarnated sorcerer can damage Mahito. It's not hard. They do it automatically, just like Yuji does. So Yuji being able to do soul damage to Mahito isn't really special. What he evolves that into, as Sukuna notes, it's like what he did to Mahito, but it's still different. Just like Mahito's soul damage is different because he changes the shape of the soul, just like Mahiki and Toji's soul damage is different because they literally cleave the soul itself. It's all different. So Yuji just has a different type of soul interaction. That doesn't mean he automatically gets the other ones. To believe he does is pure headcanon. But it seems like, once again, just going by that poll, it seems like headcanon wins. But let's see.
Talks about knocking on Megami's soul to wake him, which makes me think these effects can happen to someone if Yuji makes that his target, since not only can he attack the boundaries within Sukuna and Megami's soul, but he can just target Megami's soul directly. This is significant in Yuji's favor, because you cannot heal your soul without the comprehension of the soul's contours. Yuji's last addition to his arsenal is his domain, which is insanely broken just because of the sure hit. Yuji basically has guaranteed dismantle soul hit. I mean, this is literally on par with Mahito's abilities, which is crazy to think about because that's what made Mahito so broken and so strong. The fact that once he pops his domain, it's basically game over for you. We don't have much info on his domain outside of—
I would say no. Like, you can call me insane. You can call me whack. You can call me stupid. You can call me dumb. You can call me idiot. Because I am. But Yuji's domain is butt. It's booty. It's big, bodacious, gargantuan booty butt cheeks. Because it's one hit. It is one. Like, look, go back. Go back. I've said it before. People try to correct me, but nope. It's just incorrect. Yuji's sure hit activates once. It activates once. It hits Sukuna that one time, and that is it. I've seen people try to say, well, Pencil, look, he's healing from a whole bunch of stuff after that. Remember, Nobara just put multiple holes in his chest. That's that RCT steam that's coming off of him. That's not the sure hit dismantle. And in fact, we know the soul dismantle that was imbued in the domain doesn't have any physical effects. Like, we see that. So it wouldn't even make sense for Yuji's sure hit to operate like Malevolent Shrine does just because they're both Shrine. Because they're both different. So it literally makes no sense for Yuji's sure hit to operate like Malevolent Shrine. Unless you think it operates like that on the soul level, but it doesn't because we only see it hit once. And even then, it's not that effective on Sukuna, who literally said, if I get hit with one more soul dismantle, I'm cooked. So Sukuna even overestimated Yuji's ability. And that was his ability funneled through a domain which we know make your attack stronger. And it still didn't work. So yeah, Yuji's domain is butt. It's garbage. Like, legitimately, out of all the domains that have a lethal sure hit, it may literally be the worst. The only reason it's better than a domain like Hanami's and a domain like Jogo's is because we legit don't know what their sure hits are. Because we never get to see them. We can assume them. We can assume, but that's the thing. Same thing with Yuki. Like, it's better than them because we know. We don't have to theorize. But from what we see, his sure hits worse than Dagon's, because at least Dagon's will damage you. At least he'll spawn on you and immediately do some real damage. But Yuji's sure hit, it'll hit you once. That's it. That's actually kind of trash. Let's see.
That, but it doesn't seem necessary to know more than that. I think the sure hit in itself is already extremely broken, and it's just something that it's gonna make him win a lot of his fights now. So it's like,
I don't like no, like anyone without a domain maybe, but who are we putting Yuji up against who doesn't have a domain? Hakari has a domain. He counter domains back. Cooked. One sure hit pops off, does no damage, gets healed immediately. If it does any damage, good. Maki and Toji, immune to domains. Yuta has a domain of his own. Riko probably wouldn't be affected if Yuji tried to trap Riko alone, but I don't think he'd do that. He'd fight Yuta. Ryu has a domain. Uro has a domain. And maybe like, well, we don't know their domains either. So what does that do? Yeah. But we know they have a domain with a sure hit. As it's stated in Sendai, all their overlapping domains cancel each other out. And to cancel out each other's sure hits, you need to have a sure hit. We know Yuta has a sure hit, so they all cancel out each other's domain in that short three-way clash. So Uro and Ryu have sure hits. And even if they're also one-hit wonders like Yuji's, guess what? They cancel out. Who else are we putting Yuji up against that he doesn't already slaughter without his domain? Like you see the issue? I don't know. I think his domain's still but it doesn't do anything for him. It doesn't do anything for him because it's literally arguably the least refined domain we've seen in the entire series. It is just bad. I mean, I get Glaze and Yuji Lumiere, but I don't know. Because you have to make so many leaps in logic. You have to assume it's just like a Love Shrine. You have to assume that the Soul Dismantle, which specifically works in a specific way, works in a completely different way, and that it's continuous, and that'll do permanent damage. You have to do all that, and I don't think that's the case. The only like Yuki, same thing. She just domains back, and then sure hits cancel out. The only person who'll work against is Geto. But I like if you're making unless you start talking about like the Geto circle jerk, like then you don't need domain for Yuji to beat Geto, right? So like. I don't know. I don't see the vision on this one, but let him keep cooking.
Whatever else the domain has, it's not really important. I don't care because we already got the most important thing out of it, or at least the strongest thing out of it. That covers all of Yuji's abilities. Now let's talk about Yuji's strength. Out of everyone else in this arc, Yuji seems to be the one that has progressed the most. He got 2 new curse techniques, learned reverse curse techniques, simple domain, and domain expansion. Sukuna also said that Yuji has improved. Yuji, aside from Gojo, is the only one who has consistently stayed in against Sukuna, which is extremely impressive.
No. He falls on the battle a couple times. Like, right after the Yuta domain scenario, he leaves. He also, like, he had to catch up. He technically didn't leave the fight, but, like, he had to catch up to Higuruma and Sukuna, and they didn't really do much. Higuruma basically had a 1v1 Sukuna, and then by the time Yuji appeared, it was still worthless. Too late. Maki, and then there's the whole section of the Kusakabe fight. So, like, Yuji's missing for the entire Maki versus Sukuna fight, and then the entire Kusakabe versus Sukuna fight. And then he only really shows back up again once Mikael and Ru step in. So he disappears for that entire chunk of the battle. He's legit not there. He's recovering. And then he does fight him after that point. From there, it is Yuji versus Sukuna for the most part. But even then, no, we'd have enough. It's not a long break, but he has like at least a 1-2 minute break versus when Goto shows up and fights Sukuna. So, question mark.
He's been lasting way longer than people like Kashimo and Yuta. To be fair to
okay, let me let him say to be fair.
Kashimo, though, he was fighting a fresh, new form Sukuna, but Yuta got packed up real quick twice. Yuji was also keeping.
No, like that's the thing. I'm cool. This is my thing. I'm cool with glazing Yuji, but not at the expense of other characters. Obviously, the Kashimo thing's true. He got packed up immediately. That's facts. But Yuta did not get packed up immediately. In fact, Yuta saved Yuji's life a couple times while fighting Sukuna, the best anyone had ever done, including pre-awakened Yuji at that point. And that was outside domain. Then Yuta domain and was still like doing some numbers in Sukuna. 1-on-1 by himself with Yuji supporting. So I would like, cool, you can glaze Yuji. You can glaze his performance against Sukuna too. I'm down with that. But talk about post-awakening. Like, not no pre-awakening. Or don't downplay Yuta by saying, oh, we got loaded. Sure. Was it literally just 2 chapters and an end of chapter thing? Yeah. But still, that's better than a lot of other characters get. And Yuji, while he has many more chapters than someone like Yuta, he also gets tossed around and beat up a lot more than Yuta did. So let's not too much. I like King Yuta, not too much my King Yuta. But let's see.
With Yuta while fighting Sukuna. They were able to synergize well without Yuji being a burden to Yuta, which implies Yuji is around the same tier as Yuta. But Yuji,
and I can give that. I can definitely give that. I can 100%, million percent, do it a silly percent give that. I do think pre-awakened Yuji and Yuta are relative in terms of overall physicals, and I think realistically, you can make an argument that Yuji is just generally faster because he keeps up with domain Yuta. We know domain amps your stats. So while Yuji was immune to Yuta's sure hit because you didn't turn it on him, at the same time, Yuji being able to keep up with that Yuta is a Yuta with buff domain stats, implying that regularly a pre-awakened Yuji would even be superior to Yuta in physical stats until Yuta domains. Let's see.
Yuji is definitely now on the heavy hitters range, and he's leagues above where he first started at the start of this arc. Yuji's soul punches.
See, the editing in these videos are so fire though, and he uses. It's the art I typically use for the thumbnails. He uses Azur's art, which is always colored beautifully. Let's see.
And dismantles are going to be great for lethality. Sukuna never was in danger of his life throughout the whole showdown, except from Gojo obviously. But Sukuna says that Yuji's dismantle is deadly, which the exact definition of that word is causing or able to cause death. On top,
that's the thing, right? He said this is the perfect penalty. When the target of this mental's curse technique is the boundary between my soul and maybe Fushiguro's, it's deadly to a fully fleshed curse like me. Now, of course, that's John Wary. We don't trust John, because John is wrong, but this statement is held similarly to TCB. But it's deadly in the same way that a knife is deadly. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, this is deadly. I conk somebody over the head with this thing or unsheath it and then slice somebody with this sword. It can be deadly, but that doesn't mean it's going to cause instant death, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like, Yuta technically was deadly to Sukuna. If he had kept up his full output domain amp Jacob's Ladder, Sukuna likely would have been burnt to a crisp. Same thing with Hana and her Jacob's Ladder, but when it was at full output, it would have burnt Sukuna from oblivion. All those were deadly. But we aren't going to sit here and say that Yuta or Jacob's or Hana's Jacob's Ladder or Hana herself are like Sukuna level, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like, just because something is deadly to Sukuna doesn't necessarily mean it's like, oh no, this is crazy. Hollow Purple is deadly to Sukuna. So is Jacob's Ladder. So is the other Jacob's Ladder. So are these soul dismantles. There are different levels of danger to it. We can't simply say they're all relative. Right. You know what I'm saying? Let's see.
That when Yuji CT burned out, Sukuna said, now the boy can't threaten my life. It's pretty obvious that Yuji was climbing the power ranks very quickly. Sukuna straight up admitting Yuji can kill him. Mind you, Sukuna is a cocky character. He won't say that for just anyone. This is just pretty consistent for Yuji to be that high in power because he's Sukuna's twin. We know Yuji's potential is high and is stated to equal Sukuna in potential. I won't go too in depth for Hakari because, to be quite frank, he doesn't have much to offer, and not only myself but many others have explained over and over all of Hakari's abilities, so I expect you guys to know how Hakari operates. Regardless, we'll still go over some of his stuff, just not a deep dive like we did with Yuji. With Hakari, the name of the game is his domain. He is a domain sorcerer, meaning his skills completely rely on him opening his domain and hitting jackpot. In the meanwhile, when he's not in jackpot, obviously he is much more vulnerable. Only semi-impressive thing from Hakari that we know of while he's out of jackpot is that his curse energy has a rough texture. Yuji and Charles saying it's like sandpaper. Physically, he's pretty strong, but he doesn't have much outside of jackpot. Yuji was able to withstand multiple blows from Hakari while not even guarding himself, just straight letting himself get hit, and he was taking them. Even Hakari was surprised.
And in both of their respective defenses, while it is impressive for Yuji and it does seem unimpressive for Hakari, I think it's very likely that Hakari was not, like, like, he may have been trying to knock Yuji out, but I don't think, like, Hakari was swinging full force or I think he's still messing around, right? Like, especially with the whole narrative of that fight being like, oh, Hakari, you know, he's rough and mean on the outside, but he's actually, like, a cutie patootie when it comes to the other kids from JJK High. And with Yuji exposing himself as a student from JJK High, I highly doubt Hakari was actually swinging to do any sort of, like, lethal damage to Yuji. So it's like, it's a feat. But it's like, We'll see.
This is a much weaker Yuji than the one that we know now. Hakari was also damaged by relatively weak sorcerers like Charles. While he wasn't in jackpot, he was almost killed by Charles. So when Hakari isn't in jackpot mode, it's obvious he's vulnerable, but since he's not.
But one thing I'll admit about basic Hakari, it's weird. It's weird. No, don't. Right? It's weird. He's a weird fella. He's a silly guy. He's a silly dude. He's a silly fella. But he did somehow, however long you think the Sukuna versus Kashimo fight lasted. If you think it was 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5, he somehow lasted against Urame in his domain. Now, you're gonna be like, what does that matter? Urame is stupid. Like, stupid dumb. Stupid strong, stupid fast, all their abilities, but they did no damage to Hakari while he was in his domain. His clothes were untouched. The fit, fresh. The jacket, clean. The shoes, unbothered. Like, legitimately, that is a thing that happened. And that's absurd. So, basic Hakari, he's not necessarily to be slept on. And of course, he does have these little interactions with Kashimo. But let's see.
As strong, then he's extremely vulnerable. Just because, to state the obvious, he doesn't have infinite curse energy surging through him anymore. He can't just mindlessly attack because he's not at the same strength, and he can't heal. And that's another important point for Yuji's superiority over Hakari. Hakari doesn't know how to use reverse curse technique. Yuji is a much more advanced sorcerer than Hakari, and domain isn't a valid point either because it's intrinsic to Hakari. That's just his fighting type, just like Higuruma. So it isn't a skill thing, it was just something that they already had. While in Jackpot, he was able to go relative with fighters such as Kashimo and Urame, which is impressive, but not as impressive as Yuji's feats, aka being able to beat the strongest character in the series. Hakari has no lethality whatsoever. His physicality just doesn't cut it in high tier fights. That's exactly why he went missing with Urame in a corner and progressed nothing in his fight. On the other hand, Yuji does have lethality. I think Hakari has one advantage over Yuji, which is maybe his domain activation. Since domain is something inherent to Hakari, I'd expect him to be more experienced with barriers than Yuji. Since Yuji only really knew the basics of barrier techniques, that pretty much goes for everything new in Yuji's arsenal. So in other words, Hakari's experience could help him against Yuji. Obviously, Hakari is a heavy hitter. He's on par with fighters such as Maki and Yuta, which is pretty impressive, but I think that's only in jackpot mode. Hakari outside of that doesn't seem to still fit the code of a heavy hitter. So to kind of sum everything up, Hakari while in jackpot mode is very strong. Physically, his RCT is also just completely broken, basically making him immortal for the duration of jackpot. The only negative he has is just that his lethality, his ability to actually kill someone, is lackluster, and that his base is much weaker than when he's in domain. More than sorcerers usually are, because obviously all of the characters are much stronger in domain, but Hakari's drop off is just 10 times more significant than everyone else. Now, I'm just going to break down the battle and tell you guys who would win this battle. Hakari's main advantage is going to be his expertise in domain over Yuji.
Honestly, I don't even think it's that. Though that does help. He is right. He's spitting on that. The expertise and domain difference was something I didn't even consider too much. But because I personally don't rate Yuji's domain that much. I literally think it changed nothing. And I remember I made that video. A lot of people weren't happy about that. I was like, Yuji's domain changes literally nothing because it's actually that bad. But with that being the case, one of the biggest things for Hakari, in my opinion, is even his domain tech. Because obviously, I think anyone with a domain still beats Yuji. Not beats Yuji, but like they still put up a good fight against Yuji because domain basically did nothing. The thing that Hakari has is that Yuji is not that lethal either. Sure, he beat Sukuna, but on a technicality. He beat Sukuna simply for the fact that he was rupturing the bonds between Sukuna's physical form and Megami soul. Or vice versa. Sukuna's soul and Megami's physical form. That's it. That's the only reason he beat Sukuna. If you look back, Yuji barely does any damage to Sukuna. He literally has the exact same issue Hakari does. Yuji's lethality is kind of butt. It's kind of booty. Even post-awakening Yuji, the only real serious bit of damage he does to Sukuna is like, I think his cleave made Sukuna's ankles bleed. And think, brain black. Like think, I'm trying to think right now. His cleave made his ankles bleed. And then what? Because the tear in his heart came from Maki tearing his chest open. Yuji didn't rip a hole in Sukuna's chest. The arms were removed by Yuta and Maki. That wasn't Yuji. I think maybe he blew out. I think he was using Supernova. He blew out Sukuna's eye. I think, or like the blood explosion he did. I think that like ruined Sukuna's eye. I believe. But like in terms of series, even the tongue ripping out was a Yuta feat. That wasn't a Yuji feat. Yuji never does any serious damage to Sukuna. At least not serious as in lethal damage that couldn't immediately be healed by someone like Jackpot Hakari. You know what I'm saying? Like Yuji never has a moment against Sukuna where he grabs him and rips off one of his arms, or grabs his legs and tears one of those off, or even like chunks a defensive part of him out. He never does that ever. Like once again, I'm speaking purely of memory because I actually haven't looked. I haven't done the Yuji video yet. I'm gonna do a review. I'm gonna read through Yuji's run in the Shinjuku Showdown. Then I'm gonna make the video on Yuji's run in the Shinjuku Showdown. But off the top of my dome piece, from what I remember, Yuji does no lethal damage to Sukuna ever. He has the same issue as Hakari. He's a pillow puncher. He's a punching kick merchant who doesn't even punch and kick that good. You know what I'm saying? What the heck is that? But that's the big issue. That's the thing that I'm so hesitant on for Hakari, because then you gotta side with that headcanon. You gotta run with that headcanon, and then you have to anti-headcanon Hakari. Even though we know Hakari literally has the best RCT in the series while in Jackpot, you need to instantly anti-headcanon him and say he can't heal soul damage. And then that's it. And even then, you may be like, well, Pencil, man, if that's the case, if you're so hyped with Hakari and his soul damage, or resistance to soul damage or ability to heal it, then why do you think Maki beats him? That's a good question. And I literally just think it's because her soul damage is better. And I also believe she actually does have soul damage. But even if we're gonna do like the Maki versus Hakari thing, then Maki would just lose. There's a reason why Hakari was compared to Yuta. And why Hakari said, if you get weaker than Yuta or me. Or Gojo said, if he gets weaker than Hakari and Yuta, not Maki. What am I saying? What can I say? If we think the soul damage healing is that instant. But the main thing is, I don't think Yuji's soul damage, if it even exists, which I'm very questionable on, if it even exists, I don't think it's that potent. Nowhere near as potent as SSK. I think if Maki were to rush Hakari and just immediately slice his dome to ribbons, then I think before the RCT can kick in, because we know there's a slight delay, just a slight delay in the RCT and its application. As we see, the damage is able to be done to Hakari before he can spurt it out through the electricity out through his nose. And his arm does take a second to grow back in both instances where we see it blown off. I think if you remove his head quick enough, if you're lethal enough, then you can still slaughter Hakari. You got to move fast, though. Yuji's soul damage, from what we see of it, though, it isn't fast. His cleave, it isn't effective. His abilities, they just aren't quick enough. They aren't fast enough. They aren't lethal enough. He has the same problem Hakari has. So when I come to two pillow punchers, neither of which have lethality in their respective kits, I need to look at who will last longer. Who will run out of stamina first? And it's always Yuji. No matter what. He could hit as many black flashes as he wants. I was wrong. Black flashes do not restore your cursed energy amounts. Yuji can land 50 different black flashes on Hakari. As we see with Sukuna, it won't matter. It won't matter. He'll be fine. He'll keep getting back up. And then once he's in Hakari's domain, unfortunately, I'm in the camp that once Hakari starts domain looping you, he's always domain looping you. If Arame, after numerous times, we don't know how long the Shinjuku Showdown was, but from the moment the Sukuna Gauntlet started to the end of the Sukuna Gauntlet, then I think that's more than at least 20 minutes. At least, at bare minimum 20 minutes. So Hakari got Jackpot up on Urume multiple times, and I think the same thing will happen to Yuji. He'll try, he'll do his darndest, but he will never be able to put Hakari down. And then Yuji will just get tired and lose, eventually. Just like Kashima did. It's literally just a war of attrition. Unfortunately for Yuji, he does not have anything in his kit or has shown anything lethal enough for me to believe he'd be able to remove Hakari's arm in one shot. Or just remove Hakari in one shot. That's just me. That's just me. Let's see. I'm assuming Lumiere is going to give it to Yuji, though. Just because of how he's been comparing the two. If I had to hazard a guess, but let's see.
Having a quick draw domain is going to help him because it means he has more time to survive. But that's really the only upside I see on Hakari's side. Physically, Hakari isn't going to do much to Yuji since Yuji himself is a physical beast. I really doubt Hakari would defeat him. With fist only, it's going to take way more than just that to beat Yuji. So in the moment, we're giving Hakari the benefit of him popping domain first over Yuji. And even then, he still doesn't seem to have a good position to beat Yuji. So if he ends up getting Jackpot, he might beat on Yuji a little bit until the timer runs out. At any moment, if he's outside of Jackpot and he's vulnerable, it's GG's for Hakari. Yuji is just gonna hit him with the Soul Dismantle, Soul Punches, and just absolutely destroy him. I mean, Yuji just seems to have surpassed Hakari in every other category, except maybe in domain mastery, which isn't really relevant because all Yuji needs is the sure hit. I don't really see a fair scenario where Hakari wins. At best, he's able to prolong the fight. The whole time, Yuji's fighting the strongest character in the series, and Hakari's going mega relative with Sukuda's little minion, little puppet. And that to me speaks a lot. On top of Hakari just having no way to kill Yuji,
Okay, so yeah, we're going. Okay. You know, here's the thing, right? You may have heard me throughout this entire video and be like, wow, Petzl, I didn't know you were such a Hakari meme. Hakari's still barely top 10. He's still barely top 10. I have Yuji above Hakari. If I'm doing a ranking, I'm putting Yuji above Hakari. Easy. I agree 100%. Yuji has better stats. I agree. Even arguably better than Jack. Yeah, I agree. Hey, they ain't no doubt about it. None, not in my brain, not in my body. You can make arguments for Hakari. Of course you can, but like, I'm still 100% putting Yuji above Hakari. I will sooner hear Yuji top 5 talks than I'll hear Hakari top 5 talks. I'm struggling to hear Hakari top 10 talks. But you may be like, whoa, but what? Then why is it's matchups? It's always matchups. It'll always be matchups. It's why I will look you in the face and say, yeah, I still think Toji and Maki have a good chance of beating Yuta more often than they don't. And still readily say, yeah, put Yuta in top 5 above both of those two. Put Yuta in top 3 for all I care. You can put him there. 100%. Because overall, matchup-wise, and just better general stats-wise, thanks to Rika and stuff like that, I think Yuta's stronger. Just like I think Yuji's generally stronger than Hakari, but I don't think he could beat him. He does not have the lethality. And even if we're gonna headcanon Yuji soul damage for everybody, we're gonna have to headcanon Hakari healing everything. Ultimately, we've seen you can heal soul damage. The strongest type of soul damage, in my opinion, which is SSK. That typically permanent soul damage, you can heal that with RCT. It just takes higher level mastery of RCT. That's all it takes. But you need to be able to perceive the contours of your own soul. You typically need to be able to isolate and locate the poison within your body to remove them. Hakari doesn't have to think like that. He just doesn't. I think he can just do soul damage. If that's even a thing. Once again, I don't think Yuji has that. But going with Lumiere's interpretation, right? I can see exactly why he says Yuji wins. And that's fine. Once again, it's a valid interpretation. I call it headcanon because personally, I haven't seen it. And I'm very much if I haven't seen it, I can't assume it kind of guy. Trust me. But if I haven't seen it or it's not stated, then I can't assume it. That's how I typically operate with scaling. It's why in another series, I was freaking and geeking to the moon and back when the author showed multiple stars in a realm confirmed to be created by a specific character. I was like, hallelujah. You finally gave me that. I finally don't have to use the statement anymore. I have the panel. Like, I can do that. Yuji doesn't have that. But going with that, because like I said, it's not just the poll in mind. A lot of people just say Yuji has soul damage. I'm the outlier here. I and a couple people in the comment section of that video and on the comment section of that poll, we're the outliers. Everyone just believes Yuji has soul damage in the same way as SSK now. Even though nothing in the series suggests it. So if we're going with that, and we're going with the idea that Hakari can heal, then yeah, Hakari wins, or Hakari loses. Even in Jackpot, because Yuji would have relative stats, and you just keep wearing Hakari down with damage he cannot deal. In that case. But if we go with a more general interpretation, which is either Yuji A doesn't have soul damage and thusly lacks lethality and application of his curse techniques in order to instantly take out Hakari in Jackpot, then Hakari wins the war of attrition. That's my thoughts. But let's let Lumiere wrap it up a little bit. Let's let him wrap it up.
Really don't see how he can win. Meanwhile, Yuji has all the abilities in the world to kill someone. He has blood manipulation, he has the black flashes, he has shrine, simple domain, he has RCT, and he's definitely on that level with Hakari of strength. He wasn't at the start of the arc, but now he's probably surpassed him. So I really do think this is a one-sided fight in favor of Yuji. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll be making more content like this. If you guys have any video ideas, make sure to drop them in the comments. If I do them, you will be mentioned in the video. Yeah, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, guys.
All right, perfect. We made it exactly to the end. Hallelujah. But I gave you all my thoughts. I'm kind of like agree to disagree. A little bit. Just on certain aspects. But if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please do me a favor and leave immortal pillows. Leave immortal pillows in the comment section down below. And thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month, exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions to every series I happen to review, ad-free variations of all my videos, and becoming $25 Patreon and $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, it's also a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below where you can drop 5 beans for a short video, 25 beans for a long video, or any beans at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dad with a Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Zara, Greyhound, Eternal Flame, Redwolf 4765, Astro, Brandon Payne, Glacier XZ, and G Prosper. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 members, A plus A, Ignil Lind, Kevin Encarnacion, Midnight Lord 21, and Sean. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $7 members, Fine, Austin Wimberly, Uchiha, and Yuki Ally. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $10 members, AZ Void, J Warrior, and Robbie Uchiha. And I'd like to give a big ol' thank you to our $10 patrons, Overlord Zero, Joaquin Munoz, and Idem Okami. And I'd like to give a final, gracious, gargantuan thank you to our $100 That Guy with a Pencil tier patron, Calvin Elder.